Most men assume losing your love handles is easy. Eat less, move more, and throw in some ab exercises. But if that really worked, you probably wouldn't be watching this video right now. So in this video, I'm going to give you the real reasons why your waist hasn't changed and give you the exact steps to get rid of those stubborn love handles once and for all. Let's jump right into it. Reason number one, you're wasting your time doing a lot of oblique exercises. Now to this day, this is probably still the most frustrating thing I see from fitness influencers out there, whether it's like Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. I'll still see to this day that has like hundreds of thousands of views saying, do this oblique workout to burn your belly fat area. And that's just a pure garbage, guys. And I get so frustrated when I see that because they're just misleading you, which is going to leave you frustrated. And you're going to wonder why you're not seeing the results, especially if you're spending so much time doing those oblique movements. Now, the point what I'm trying to say here is, and I'll kind of tie back and wrap this full circle, is you can't spot on reduced belly fat. So if you do like 1,000 oblique movements and 1,000 bicycle crunches, you're not going to burn fat there. And it's pretty crazy for me to say this in 2025 because like I thought that myth was debunked 15 years ago. Now, like this is not your fault. Like you're watching this video because you're trying to get rid of the love handles. It's the responsibility of the fitness coach putting the information out there. It's like for me, like I don't really know too much about cars. So if I want to try to do something to fix my car, I'm probably going to watch a YouTube video and I'm going to take that person's advice, especially if they have a pretty credible reputation in the industry. So your big takeaway here is you don't want to try to spot and reduce belly fat by doing a ton of oblique movements because it's going to do really nothing for you from a fat loss perspective. Let nutrition take care of the fat loss. We'll kind of tie this into point number two. You'll see what I mean. And this doesn't mean all oblique exercises are useless to do in a fat loss phase because it's still important to get strong in these muscles. It can also help prevent lower back issues and whatnot. But if you're spending tons of time doing like crunches and side bends to try to burn belly fat off there, there's a better way of doing that, and we're going to really dive into it for the remaining of the video right now. Reason number two, men tend to lose their fat last in that love handle area. Now, have you ever heard that famous quote saying that men kind of have like those apple-shaped kind of bodies and ladies have more of the pear-shaped bodies? Essentially what that means is most men store their fat in their belly and their side area, so kind of love handles we're talking about right now, and the ladies will tend to store more of their fat in the hip area. There's obviously more to it, but that's like a very general rule of thumb. So what I'm trying to say here is men have a lot of fat in their belly and love handle area. And typically speaking, the last place that we tend to lose fat is going to be that love handle area. So you have to be patient. Like I remember one of my clients, like he lost about 25 pounds. He was getting kind of close to that 15% body fat range. Like everything looked pretty good, but he still had that stubborn belly fat area kind of like poking out of his shirts. And he was a little bit frustrated because he's doing like every single thing right, like dial down the nutrition, protein, et cetera, et cetera. And I basically told him like, just be patient with it because for guys, this is typically the last place that fat wants to go. And we really stuck to the plan for another month or two. And guess what happened? We started really kind of melting that belly fat area and he noticed a lot big changes overall in his stomach and his sides. So your big takeaway here is the fat you have to lose is usually last in the love handle area. So you want to be patient. And typically speaking, you're probably not going to see this area go down too much. If you're over 15% body fat, you want to be between 10 to 50% to really trim down this range. Now you can obviously make changes from 30% to 20%. You'll see this go down a little bit. But if you have that stubborn love handle area, you want to get down to sub 15% body fat. And if you do that, then that's what we're going to really see the changes with the sides going down. Okay, reason number three to why you can't lose that stubborn fat area is you think you're in a calorie deficit, but you're not. Now, the other week, I did an in-person session, and this person saw some pretty good results. Like the fat was going down, the strength was going up, but then at one point, the scale really wasn't budging, and we were stuck there for a couple of weeks. So I'm like, okay, let's really get to the bottom of this, and let's figure out what the problem is. So I asked him, like, are you tracking everything 100% correctly? He's like, oh yeah, absolutely, for sure. So then I asked him, like, are you tracking your oils in your cooking? And he kind of said like, no, I'm not tracking that. I'm like, okay. Are you tracking your drinks? He's like, some, like if I have like a beer, alcohol, track that, but not really juices or milks or nothing like that. So I'm like, okay. Are you tracking sugars and creams and coffee? And right there, I can kind of tell his face, like he said no, but right there, I kind of realized he's like, oh fuck, like this is what I'm messing up with. And right there, we knew that he wasn't in a calorie deficit, even though he thought he was. Because most guys underestimate how many calories they take in by 20 to 50%. And on top of it, we try to create a calorie deficit, those Apple Watches, like how many calories we burn. In reality, guys, like those things suck and they can be off up to like 30 to 40% as well. So if you're not tracking your calories correctly and you're relying on like the Apple Watches that tell you burn, X amount of calories, they tend to be on the higher end opposed to lower end. Well, you can see right there that you're actually not in a calorie deficit. And that's why you can't lose that love handle area. So your big takeaway here is just because you think you're at a calorie deficit, you probably aren't, especially if you're not losing fat, the scale is going down. So make sure you're tracking everything 100% correctly, whether it's oil, sauces, like cream in your coffee, every single thing, and try not to rely too much on those Apple Watch trackers or whatever kind of watch it may be, because they tend to overestimate how many calories you burn by up to sometimes even 30 to 40%. Reason number 4 to why you can't lose that stubborn love handle area is you're eating healthy, but you're still eating too much. Now, this is one of the biggest stances I have as a fitness coach that is a little bit controversial. It's not about eating healthy. It's about eating the right way, because what does even healthy even mean? And it's just very subjective. It's like a team losing like 5-0 in hockey, and they ask the player like, "Oh, how did you think your team played?" And he's like, you know what? We played pretty well, I thought. But then we look into the stats and we see that their team didn't play well. Like they got outshot, they got out-hit, they had out-puck possession. Like every stat basically showed that they weren't going to win the game, but he thought that they played well, which is very subjective and isn't quantified. Well, now think of the same thing as like calories and protein versus eating healthy. Tracking your calories and protein with having no foods off limits is quantified. Eating healthy is very subjective because we're basically guessing at what healthy is, and we're basically guessing how many calories we're essentially taking in. The stats that I care about, like kind of giving the sports analogy example, in this case is calories and protein. I don't care about what the foods you eat at all. Like for me, I had pizza and whiskey every single weekend. I think most people would deem that unhealthy, right? But I track my calories, I track my protein, and I stay lean all year round because it's quantified and I'm not guessing. So your big takeaway is if you're focused on eating healthy foods and you still can't lose that stubborn belly fat and the stubborn love handle area, start tracking your calories and protein, because that's actually quantified and those are the stats that actually matter, opposed to just kind of guessing, just saying you're eating healthy. Reason number 5, you keep chasing muscle gain and fat loss at the same time. Now, have you ever tried to multitask and do kind of 2 things at once, but you realize you're really just not productive at those 2 things, and it's much better off to focus on one thing? Like for me, for example, if Christina, my girlfriend's trying to talk to me and I'm texting, like I got to be zoned in texting. I can't respond to her in text because I'm going to make basically no sense on my text messages. And when I respond to her, so I got to do one thing at a time. I'm a guy too. I keep my life super simple. Well, it's the same thing now when it comes to like losing fat and building muscle. You got to pick one thing at a time, because if you try to do 2 things at the same time, you're essentially getting nowhere, because it's very straightforward, guys. Like if you're going to gain muscle, you're going to have some fat gain that comes along with it. If you try to lose fat, you're going to have some muscle loss that comes along with it, unless you're a genetic freak or you're on steroids, which I really wouldn't recommend. So your big takeaway here is if you have the love handles to lose, focus on losing that fat first. And then once you trim down to, let's say even like 50% body fat, give or take, and let's say you're actually stuck, then we can really kind of talk about building muscle. Now, I'll link a video at the very end that takes you through the 3 stages of losing all your belly fat, and especially what to do when you're stuck. So make sure you hang around for that. But to kind of summarize this, lose your love handles first and then gain muscle once you trim down. Reason number 6, you only focus on the workouts, but your daily behaviors suck. Now, have you ever done something like on Microsoft Word or maybe like a PowerPoint presentation where you actually put so much work into completing the project, but then you forget to hit save and then maybe your computer dies and then you basically have to start all over again? Well, it's kind of similar if you're spending so much time and effort completing your workouts, like you're putting in your bust and your ass completing those workouts, but if your daily behaviors don't complement that, which we'll get into in 1 second, then you're just wasting so much time and effort on those workouts. So the daily behaviors that I'm talking about that really is going to help complement your workouts is going to be like your sleep. It's going to be your calories, which we talked about. It's going to be your protein, which we talked about, our step count, and even our stress management. Like so many times I see guys absolutely crush their workouts, like 2 to 4 workouts a week, like they're killing themselves in the gym, but they basically look the same after weeks, months, and even years. And they're wondering like, why do I look the same? Well, if your daily behaviors aren't married to your workouts, then it's still a good thing in the sense that you are working out and building that mental toughness. But if you truly want to change your body, you have to focus on the bottom of the iceberg, our daily habits, to really help supplement those workouts. So your big takeaway is if you are working out consistently, make sure your sleep, your stress, which we're going to talk about 1 second here, your protein, your calories, and your step count are dialed in, because those daily habits don't match your workouts. They're going to be wasting a lot of time and effort, just like that PowerPoint presentation you may have done, which you forgot to hit save on. Okay, reason number 7, and this is a game changer that no one talks about, and I'm going to list some actual points to list off what I'm going to say right now. But reason number 7 is going to be stress is messing with your midsection. So I read a book a few years ago called The Hungry Brain. In my opinion, one of like the best fat loss books out there that really kind of gets into the psychology of like overeating and stress eating and all that sort of stuff. And in that book, I really kind of dove into the stress parts of it. And I wanted to really share the 3 to 4 main points I got from this stress in terms of overeating to really kind of illustrate my point here. And this is absolutely a game changer and this is huge. So I'm going to look down here and I'm going to share from this powerful book. So number 1 is going to be stress can cause you to overeat. Now, this is obviously a pretty self-explanatory, I'd say, but like these are mass studies that really show this. So the more stress you have, essentially the more calories you're going to take in. Kind of like me during a Bills game, for example. I stress eat all the time. The second thing, and this is the big one in my opinion, and I'll really break this down. So cortisol can cause leptin resistance. So what the hell does that mean, right? Cortisol, I'm sure most of you guys know, it's like your stress hormone. Leptin resistance. So leptin is a hormone, and essentially if your leptin is on point, then it's going to make you feel full when you're supposed to feel full. But leptin resistance basically means is your leptin's not working properly, so you're never really going to feel full, and you're always going to feel hungry. And of course, the more hungry you are, the more calories you're going to eat. So stress can directly impact basically how full that you may feel, which kind of ties in the previous point, right? Like stress can cause you to overeat. Number 3, large studies. So I'm talking like massive studies show people who have higher stress have increased body fat. So on average, if you're stressed out more, you're going to carry on to more extra body fat. It's that straightforward for the most part. And the last point, sugar help people more comfortable in the face of stress. So not that sugar is bad. We talk about like healthy versus unhealthy, but with sugar, of course, if you have too much of it, it's empty calories with basically no protein. Now, knowing all this, like, does it now kind of make sense that if you know a shitload about like macros, protein, working out, step count, etc., but you really don't focus on like your sleep and stress, you kind of see how that really doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things, knowing a bunch about the macros and your protein, your workouts. Because if you're stressed out and you're sleeping like crap, you can be the smartest person in the world. You're essentially fighting hormones, and it's basically trying to run a marathon uphill. Like losing fat, it's already hard as is, but when you combine like a chronically stressed out body and mind, and you're just sleeping pretty poorly on top of it, well, it just makes your job like so much harder to do. And this is why you really have to focus on the core foundations before you actually kind of get into like, the perfect meal plan, the perfect workouts, and all that sort of stuff. Now, like I said before, if you do want the 3 full stages in terms of how to lose belly fat, I'll link the video for you basically right up here. It's going to come up soon. It's going to basically take you down from 30% to 10%. And it'll really get into as well that let's say you're stuck in a fat loss phase. It'll tell you when you should take a diet break. And I get really into the weeds of all that information. And please, if you enjoy this video, please like, please subscribe. But I'll see you on that next video. Thanks for watching.